I'm Laura McNamara in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill at the 2026 ACE Fly-In and Government Affairs Summit. Joining me now is Brian Jennings. Would you introduce yourself for us?
Sure, Laura. Brian Jennings. I'm the CEO of the American Coalition for Ethanol.
And we've just wrapped up a day of a lot of meetings with a lot of different legislators, congressmen. How do you feel?
Well, I feel good. Our work is not yet done. Several of us have meetings yet this afternoon and tomorrow. It's a busy week in Congress, but it's also a critical moment for this industry. We need Congress to meet the moment when it comes to finally getting legislation to allow E15 year-round over the finish line. We've come so very close, but we're also inching close to the summer driving season. So the window of opportunity here is incredibly short. And part of the fly-in's design or purpose is to try to create some pressure on Congress to finally act. We haven't had a chance to debrief our members yet, so we don't know exactly how every meeting went, but I've got some key meetings this afternoon. I think that will reveal more about what we think can be done in the last couple of weeks in March, and we're hoping for some positive developments.
Okay, and with the meetings that have taken place so far, what's the sentiment? What's the feedback?
I think the feedback is keep the pressure on. We understand that with the recent incredible spike in gasoline and oil prices stemming from the conflict in the Middle East, that it puts even a greater pressure on Congress to act, and that E15 can save considerable money for all Americans. This isn't just about rural America and grinding corn bushels. This is about how can we make fuel more affordable for every American that drives a vehicle. And so we've got, a compelling case to make. There's also a growing sense of frustration on the Hill from particularly farm state members of Congress that the refiners have taken this issue hostage and really held up progress on getting E15 over the finish line. You have the large refiners that are fighting with some of the small and mid-sized refiners right now. And one thing I picked up in some of the meetings that I was doing yesterday was that there's a growing sense of frustration with that just entire refining complex, and that perhaps, and this would be a very positive development, they would just shelve all of the small refinery exemption reform language, whether it benefits API and its members or it benefits the small refiners, and just set that aside because it's so controversial, and move forward with a cleaner looking E15 bill, which is exactly what we would like to see happen. So I don't want to get the cart before the horse on that. I think, there's support for that sort of strategy moving forward from farm state members. We don't know if there's critical mass in Congress for that yet, but that would be, if that's an outcome of the fly-in and ACE members being on the Hill, I think that would be a very positive outcome, and folks could say they made a positive difference.
So a cleaner bill for a cleaner fuel.
A cleaner bill for a cleaner fuel. You said it better than I ever could.
And it does seem like that's the biggest setback. Like, this is why this just hasn't happened yet.
The refiner problem. That is the setback. Yeah, and we were so close at the end of January, and this refiner issue sort of sprouted up. And I think members of Congress, in good faith, over the course of February on this House Council, tried to solve that problem. And I think they discovered that the refiners weren't as interested in finding a solution as they were in obstructing progress. And that's part of the reason we see a growing sense of frustration, and then maybe, the willingness to just set that aside and move forward on E15.
Just yesterday, Trump came out and said he has an announcement coming up for next week that is exciting for agriculture, and mentioned that there will be an announcement about the EPA's new mandates. Did you see that announcement come out, and do you have any idea of what that might refer to?
I did see the announcement. So there's a big celebration apparently next Friday, the 27th, at the White House. I don't have any other details other than what you've seen in the press. We have EPA's assistant administrator visiting with us this morning, Aaron Szabo, to talk about the renewable volume obligations. I don't expect him to announce those today. I do expect those to probably be announced next week sometime, and it could coincide with that White House event. We expect positive news on that RFS front. Strong blending volumes. I think the big question is how much of the small refinery exemptions that they granted over the 2023 to 2025 compliance years are reallocated. That's the question. And the EPA has said they'd entertain fully reallocating those gallons, which is what we would prefer. But the media reports lately have been indicating it's going to be something less than 100% reallocation, probably more than half, but less than 100%. So a little clarity on that would be helpful to know. And then the other EPA issue that could be something that happens at the White House next Friday is that despite the fact that by far our top priority is for Congress to enact a permanent solution for E15, the conditions are very ripe in the marketplace right now for another emergency waiver if the Trump administration feels like Congress is not getting its job done. And as we get sort of dangerously close to the summer driving season, there is an expectation that the EPA and or the White House would make this the fifth consecutive year, 2026, of these temporary emergency waivers for E15. So that could be part of something that's announced next week too.
Yeah, especially with this summer being even more squeezed due to the rising gas prices at the pump. So hopefully drivers and everyone will get a break.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's ultimately how E15 benefits everyone. There's certainly the benefit for farmers in terms of grinding corn. Obviously, there's a benefit to the ethanol producers from increasing market share, but the advantage that every American who drives a vehicle, can benefit from is the fact that we're saving upwards of 50, 60 cents a gallon in some markets right now because of the price spikes we've seen in gasoline. E15 typically saves up to 30 cents a gallon, but we're seeing literally 50, 60, 70 cent savings between E10 or straight gas and E15 in some markets, so it's a big deal.
And finally, we'll wrap with just why do you think it's important to be here year after year?
Well, because our industry needs to put a human face on the priority issues that matter. As a former Capitol Hill staffer, I can tell you that paid lobbyists, coming in and out of the doors of members of Congress each and every day, and yes, paid lobbyists play an important role. I'm one, but I remember that the most meaningful meetings and engagements and interactions I ever had when I worked for a U.S. Senator was from real live farmers and ranchers and biofuel producers from South Dakota and other places when they would come visit with me, and that had the most impact on my boss as well. And so we have to make sure that the people that are living and breathing and doing the things that they do in the industry every day have a chance to have their voice heard out here in Washington, and that's why we do this.
Great, and I also think kind of remind people of the connections. Sometimes people feel removed from the rural agricultural sector, but at the end of the day, it's food, it's fuel, it's textiles, which we all use.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Laura.
I'm Laura McNamara in Washington, D.C. on Capitol